Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista and I just got home. I'm having a very productive day today, which is really nice. I just got home from getting my milk from the Amish, and then I went and got some chicken feed out there, so they are set for the next little while. I did end up picking up a bag of cocoa. This is 1 pound of Dutch cocoa powder, and I paid $4 for this. I got this out of the Amish. I put an order in for Azure. It's actually due next week. Yeah, I think it's next week it's due. And they are saying that they are completely out of stock of cocoa. So I thought I would go and pick some up while I was there. And I also was able to grab these 2 huge heads of broccoli. They were $2.50 each. So I got these huge heads for $5. So I know that we're not going to be able to get through these in the next little while. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just heating up a pot of water and I'm going to blanch them and then throw them in my freezer, because these are going to be perfect to have in the winter when broccoli is expensive. So I'm going to get that started right now. But today I have something fun planned. I am going to attempt to make something called a house vinegar pie. I am going to experiment and make this really neat pie recipe that I found. It's called a house vinegar pie, and it's supposed to taste like a combination of a pound cake and pecan pie. So I thought I'm gonna give it a try and see what it tastes like. So I'm gonna make that for dessert. Also today I have to make Steven some of those little egg things because I've got some eggs I need to get used up. And I thought that I would also make some ginger snaps. I don't know if I'm gonna have time or not to get to that today. I'm kind of feeling a little bit under the weather, so I like ginger snaps. I like that they're really, really gingery. It kind of makes me feel good. And plus it is like gray and cold today, and that kind of is like a nice warm cookie to keep me warm. So that is my plan today. I also need to get an Alfredo sauce made because we are having shrimp Alfredo for supper. And I also need to get some hamburger patties prepared and put into the freezer. We used the last of ours a while ago. I don't like not having them in my freezer. So I'm gonna get those prepared today too. And then, like I said in my last video, I am actually not going to wail this knife around. I am actually going to get some bacon prep today so that I have that pre-cooked bacon either in my fridge or in my freezer. So all I have to do is heat it up. So I'm just gonna get this broccoli all cut up, and then I'm gonna blanch it for 2 minutes. And then I have a big bowl right here of cold water. So as soon as I take it out from blanching it, I'm gonna throw it in the cold water to stop the cooking process. And then I'm gonna put it on these silicone lined trays and just throw them in my freezer. This is what I call flash freezing. So once they are all individually frozen, like in their little like floret pieces, then I will throw them all into a bag. Because if I just like kind of blanch them and throw them all together, I will end up with like a hard, huge clob of broccoli, and I don't really want that. So these are like super beautiful heads that I got from the Amish today. Love them. They smell amazing. We really like broccoli, and that is, again, we don't eat a lot of it in the summer because it's one of those things that we eat a lot of in the spring and in the winter. So we kind of save our broccoli for those months. I'm super excited today to make that pie with you guys. It sounded so interesting. I'm like, I have to make that. I like experimenting with recipes like that. It's neat to try new things. So I thought I would take you guys along with me while we try to do that. While I am waiting for this pot of water to come to a boil, it's almost to a boil, I'm just gonna get the oven turned on so that I can get that bacon cooking while this is doing its thing, and so I get that project out of the way. I'm just gonna cook up that bacon that we bought at that local butcher. I really need to get some different measuring cups because every time I open that drawer, all I hear is cling cling, and it is so loud on the videos. So I need to get some like wooden ones or ones that don't bang so much. The water is boiling now, so I am going to put in the broccoli for 2 minutes. Set the timer. A little bit. These little pieces left on the cutting board, chickens will appreciate. 2 minutes is up, so I'm just gonna put this into some ice water just to stop the cooking process. That's my oven beeping. The bacon's ready to go in. Turn that burner off, doesn't need to be on anymore. That's all of it. Right, so we'll just leave the broccoli in there for a couple of minutes. This bacon in here. It's sat in this cold water for a little bit now, so I am going to just kind of shake it out a bit and then just get it on this cookie sheet, and then we'll get it put into the oven. Or we'll get it put into the freezer. We're not cooking the broccoli. I know that they say that you should actually let it dry on a towel first before you put it into the freezer because it will cause ice crystals on it, but I haven't really found that it sits in the freezer long enough to kind of get freezer burn from that. So I just kind of give it a shake, put it on the trays. Got 2 cookie sheets full of broccoli. I mean, that's for $5, that's so much broccoli. This will be at least 3 meals for us. Well, if the kids are here, then maybe 2 meals, but yummy. One thing I find with myself is if I don't actually get that produce processed when I bring it into the house, it will sit in my fridge and I will procrastinate processing it. So I have learned that I need to kind of get this done when it comes into the house, and that way it's not like a looming project that I have to do, and that way it doesn't go bad. So I'm just gonna go and quickly put these into the freezer. I just checked on the bacon and it is still cooking. It needs about 10 more minutes. So I'm gonna make a pie crust because it needs to chill in the fridge for half an hour. So I wanna get that kind of started. So I am just gonna add some flour, butter, sugar, and salt to this bowl. And I need to use like really cold butter. So all I'm doing right now is just cubing up some really cold butter. The house is kind of cold, so it's not gonna really melt very much. I found that cold butter is the absolute key to getting a nice flaky a nice flaky pie crust. So I'm gonna add 1 1/4 cup of flour into this bowl. I am going to add a quarter teaspoon of salt, not half a teaspoon. And then we are going to add half a teaspoon of sugar, and then half a cup of very cold butter that I've just cubed up. And I'm just using my pastry blender, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna mash the butter into the flour so that I get crumbles. Pie crust is super easy to make, and I have been so intimidated for the longest time to make it. And I don't know why I have been so intimidated. It is like the easiest, simplest thing to make. But it is also super easy just to go and buy a pie crust. But I just like knowing that I'm using really good butter and I'm using organic sugar and organic flour. So it just kind of makes me feel better. It doesn't have any shortening or anything like that in it. So I like just making it myself. I'm trying to get the butter into really small pieces. That's kind of what the consistency I want. I don't know if you can see it or not. And now I'm just gonna add some ice water and just kind of work it with my hands until the dough kind of comes together and stays together. It calls for a 1/4 cup of water, but it really just depends. Like you gotta just kind of test the dough. it's starting to come together. And I don't want to work it too much because I don't really want to melt the butter. I'm just going to pour it out onto my counter. It's clean, don't worry. I've thoroughly disinfected the counter. So now I'm just going to knead it until I get it all together. And then once it comes into a nice ball, I am going to wrap it in some plastic wrap and then just leave it in the fridge for half an hour. And then voila, you've got a pie crust. Super easy. I may have actually added too much water to that. Yeah, I did. I'll add more flour when it comes to rolling out. But yeah, it's all together. I'm just gonna wrap it. Wrap it in some plastic wrap and put it in the fridge for half an hour. I can really smell that bacon, so I need to probably pull that out and get this counter cleaned up. Need to get this bacon out of the oven and then get that other package in. Smells so good. Just going to, it's almost like it's not crispy. I don't like super crispy bacon. It's kind of just barely cooked. But again, this is going to be going into recipes, so it will probably be cooked again, so I don't want it to be too crispy. I really want to get one of those, I've seen them at antique places. They're like a little bowl and then it has a strainer on top and you can just pour your bacon grease in it and you can save your bacon grease. But for now, I just pour it in this jar and hope that the jar doesn't break because I'm pouring super hot liquid into a room temperature jar. I was gonna get started on my vinegar pie while those egg things are in the oven, but then I read the recipe and it said that I needed to melt some butter and let it cool. So I just took this out of the microwave, so I'm gonna let that cool. In the meantime, I am going to get started on my burgers. I've got 4 pounds of ground beef in this bowl, and I'm not really using a recipe. This is just kind of just wing it. Kind of stay with the same ingredients every time I make it. So I'm just gonna add some smoked paprika. Remember, this is 4 pounds of ground beef. So if it looks like I'm adding a lot, it's because there's 4 pounds in here. And I really like the smoked flavor. So we got some smoked paprika, put some garlic powder, and then some onion powder. I am going to add a little bit of crushed red chili flakes. Not very much, just a little bit, just for a hint of like kick. And then I'm gonna add some ground mustard. I'd say like maybe 2 teaspoons in there. And then a couple teaspoons of salt. And then probably a teaspoon of pepper. And then I am going to crack in about 3 eggs. Some of these eggs are larger than others, so I'm going to say 3 eggs. I am just going to add in some breadcrumbs. I think when I put my breadcrumbs in the freezer, they were still a little moist because some of them are like in a ball, so I obviously don't want a big clump of breadcrumb. So I'm probably gonna put it like, maybe like 1.5 cups of breadcrumbs. We'll see if I need to add any more. Okay, now we're gonna mix it. So messy, but kind of have to use your hands for this. I don't know any other way around it. We're gonna make the patties now. I have this really cool thing that I got from Tupperware. It's this hamburger maker. It's like a 3-part thing. Always use this for making my homemade hamburgers. So I'm just gonna take about a handful. We like pretty big patties. And then I'm just gonna squish it in this. And then voila, you get the perfect patty. So I'm just gonna put these on a tray with some parchment, and then like I'm doing with the broccoli, I'm just gonna flash freeze these. And then once they are all frozen, then I will usually do 4 per pack. I just will vacuum seal them. And then we have hamburgers. I hate not having them because they are such, sometimes like I just really want a quick meal, and if I don't feel like it's on my menu, because I do a monthly menu, and if I don't feel like what's on my menu, a lot of the times I'll just make burgers. And I'll have to make them sometime with you guys, because the air fryer is amazing to make hamburgers with. It takes about 10 minutes and you get the most amazing cooked burgers. So that is my go-to for making hamburgers now. And so anyways, I'll just throw some burgers in. I can usually fit 4 in my air fryer, fry them up. When they're done, I'll make some tater tots or like French fries or baked potatoes in the oven, and it is such a quick, easy meal. So I love having these on hand. And they're so easy to make. To buy burgers already made is so expensive when it's just quick and easy just to make your own. They smell pretty good. I added a lot of that smoked paprika because we really like it. So. Now, also the other thing that I do a lot of times when I am making burgers, just to make sure that the flavor is right, is I will take a little bit, like tiny bit, kind of like when I was making my meatballs, how I explained to you guys. I take a little bit and I fry it up, and then that way I can make sure that the flavor is okay, but I don't want to do that today. Like I said, I'm kind of feeling like a little bit, I don't know if it's just the change in the weather. It is a very dreary fall day today. We had that cold spell come through last night, and it's made today cold. Got a tray of burgers. Those will go into the freezer, and then I have another tray here. Hopefully I can fit them all in these 2 trays. This last burger is going to be a super skinny one. Probably just add it in with the 4-pack. It's a lot smaller than the other ones. Okay, I need to get washed up now. When I was getting the burgers into the freezer, I noticed that my broccoli was frozen, so I got 5 bags of broccoli, and I just vacuum sealed them like this, and then it's perfect for a meal. So I'm gonna go and put these in the freezer now. Let's get started on this house vinegar pie. So I'm gonna get the oven preheated to, 325. Okay, and then it says to roll out the pie crust and fit into a 9-inch pie plate. Let me go grab my pie plate. Got my pie plate, and I got my dough out of the fridge, and it is very rock hard. So I'm just gonna put some flour down, because what I wanna do is I wanna roll it out so that it fits that 9-inch pie pan. Actually, I'm gonna put a little flour on my rolling pin also. I don't want the dough too thick, so I am just kind of checking the thickness. I think that should be good. Just get my pie plate. Yeah, perfect. Oh, I also wanted to let you know that recipe that I made that pie crust with, that only makes 1 crust. So if you have a recipe that you need to have like a top and a bottom pie crust, you'll have to double that recipe that I did. Okay, so it says fold the edges under and crimp. I am gonna get a knife and cut around. So with the leftover pie crust, I like to do those open face pies. I think they're called galettes. I don't know the actual correct name. You can, if you know the name, leave it in the comments, because I am not sure. But it's just like an open-faced pie where you just put stuff in the middle and you crimp the edges around it. So I always save dough for that. Okay. good with the crimping. I usually just take a fork, which I might do. We'll see. We'll see how this crimping does. I need to work on it. We'll probably end up crimping with the fork because this looks special. It looks very homemade. So we might fix it. All right, so now we've got the pie crust ready. It says to whisk together the eggs and the remaining ingredients in a medium bowl, and then you have to pour that into the prepared pie crust. So let's get everything mixed up. I've got the butter is really cooled. It's almost cooled to the point that it's re-silicified. My house is very cold. I think I need to actually turn the heat on a bit. I refuse to turn the heat on. I wait until the last minute. Okay, so we need to get 3 large eggs in here. Just gonna get a little bowl to crack my eggs into because I don't like to have that. I don't like to discover that I have a bad egg and then it's not good. Try to use the bigger of the eggs. Some of our chickens are new layers, so they lay really small eggs. But look at the color of these eggs. These are some of our new eggs layers. They're like a chocolate color. I love them. They're so beautiful. Hopefully this is a big enough egg. And I just give the eggshells back to the girls. They need the calcium. Okay. Remaining ingredients. We need to add in 1.5 cups. Sorry, I'm trying not to bang here. We have to mix in 1.5 cups of sugar. And then we need to add in this butter. I'm going to get a spatula. Get the spatula just because this butter has kind of gotten hard again. Hopefully it's fine. So we did the sugar, we did the butter, and now we need to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. We need to add 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar. This is just apple cider vinegar. I'll show you guys these. I got these from an antique mall. I keep all of my vinegars, and I also keep avocado oil on my counter. I keep them in these little canisters, and they're so pretty. I love them. I always like to pick up these little things, and then I have one for regular vinegar too. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar. Now, I am assuming that it is apple cider because I don't know what other kind of cider vinegar there is. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. And it says we're going to whisk it all together. This is going to be so interesting to see what it tastes like. I have a recipe, Stephen's grandmother used to make it, and it's called a mock apple pie, and you use Ritz crackers in it, and it tastes exactly like an apple pie. So I'm wondering if this is going to kind of be the same concept, because it says it's supposed to taste like a pound cake / pecan pie. I'm excited to taste it. I might make some whipped cream to put on top of it too. Now we are going to pour this into here. It does smell very vinegary, and we are going to bake it for 50 minutes. Now, I am thinking that I'm probably going to have to stop halfway through this and foil the side of the pie. Just getting the fork to crimp it. But actually, you know what? I did not do that bad of a job. I'll show you guys. But I am thinking that I am going to probably have to pull this out halfway through because I feel at 50 minutes that it is going to burn. I've seen these really cool things. I can't remember whose video it was that I watched it on, but Pampered Chef apparently has these things that you can put over top of the pie crust so that it prevents it from burning. I really want to look into it because I do like Pampered Chef. So that's what it looks like before it goes into the oven. So let's get this put into the oven and set the timer for 50 minutes. I am actually going to put this on a cookie sheet because I do not want to risk it and have this bubble all over my oven. So I'm going to add that to a cookie sheet. So let's put it in for 50 minutes. It says bake at 325 for 50 minutes or until set and golden brown. Cool completely on a wired rack. So hopefully this will be done by supper time because it's already 2 o'clock. It should be. So we'll just keep an eye on it. So what I want to do now is I already have my egg bites done. We have the hamburgers in the oven. Let me just check my list. I made a to-do list today because I knew I had quite a bit to do today. Oh, we need to make the Alfredo sauce also. Okay, so that would be perfect to get that going while that pie's in the oven. Find my Alfredo recipe first. I have 2 different Alfredo recipes. I have one Alfredo recipe that is just strictly heavy cream, and then I have a second one that uses whole milk. I prefer to use the whole milk because it is cheaper for me to buy whole milk than it is the rich, heavy cream. Now I do put a little bit of cream in it. Also, I'm realizing that if I make this now, I'm wondering if it's going to be too thick for supper time. I might wait and hold off on making this until closer to dinner time. But I think what we will do right now is we will get the ginger snaps started because I can always put, if the pie isn't done when the ginger snaps are done being made, I can always put the ginger snap batter in the fridge and it can rest and wait until that pie is done. So let's get started on the ginger snaps then. We need 3 1/4 cup of melted butter. So I'm gonna get this into the microwave. It does not specify that it needs to be cooled, so we'll just put it in the microwave. It says to cream the butter and the sugar. So we're gonna add 1 cup of sugar. I am just using a white evaporated cane sugar, like an organic one. I got it from Azure. And then I'm gonna add the melted butter to the sugar, and then we're just going to beat it. I've made this once before, but I don't remember this part. The reason that I'm just kind of iffy about it is because normally if you cream the butter, it can't be completely melted because you need to get that like fluffy cream consistency, but I don't know how I'm gonna achieve that with melted butter. So I'm gonna call it fine. And to this, we're gonna add the egg and the molasses. So it says it calls for 1 beaten egg. I'm using like a small egg, so hopefully it's fine. All right, so 1 egg and then 3 tablespoons of molasses. I am just using a organic molasses. I buy this in bulk and just put it in these quart jars. So we're gonna put 3 tablespoons. I do heaping tablespoons because it does stick to the tablespoon, and I wanna make sure that I'm getting an accurate measurement. It's like I have half of it sticking to this. And then we need to sift together the rest of the ingredients. Before we can sift that stuff together, we actually just have to cream this up first, get the egg incorporated. Okay, put that aside. And let's sift together the flour. It says about 2 cups. I literally have written down about 2 cups. So, don't know what that means. Whether we should be adding less or more. We'll just do 2 cups. Can't remember where I got this recipe from. And unfortunately, I did not write down where I got that other recipe from, the pie we're making. We need 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking soda. It says 1 1/2 teaspoons. Okay, and then we need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I know I've mentioned this on another one of my videos, but I always put stuff back as I'm using it. That way I know where I am kind of on the list. And then we need half a teaspoon of ground cloves. I actually need to fill this back up, so I'm gonna leave this out because it's getting low. And then we need half a teaspoon of ground ginger. Oh, this smells so good in here. It smells like fall. Just get this stuff sifted in here. And then once it says it's sifted, then it says add to the cream mixture. And we still have about 30 minutes on that pie. I just checked it and the crust was looking fine. You know what I realized? I did not beat that egg before I put it in there. Oh well, that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna add this to this. We'll just stir it in. It doesn't say to beat it in, so I am just gonna stir it in because I don't wanna over mix it because it's got flour now. I don't want them to be too rough. I want them to be nice and chewy. Last time I made these, they were amazing. Like the most chewiest, delicious little cookie ever. So delicious. And the ginger in it just kind of makes my tummy feel good. Looks like it's incorporated. So I'm gonna let this rest in the fridge while we wait for that pie to finish, because it still has 25 minutes, or what did I just say? 20 minutes. It still has 20 minutes left on it. So we'll just let this rest in the fridge, and then when we take it out, we're going to make small balls with it, coat them in sugar, and then bake them for 10 to 12 minutes. I veer on the side of 12 minutes because my oven cooks a little bit slower. We need to fill up that cloves because I said my ground cloves were getting low, and I also need to fill up my ginger. So I am just in my laundry room. This is where I keep my my bulk amount of spices. I need to kind of do an inventory on this because I need to check and see what I'm low on. And I really think what I need to do is label the top of these because some of them are small and I'm having to like lift them all out to see where they are. Do I even have any ground cloves? I have whole cloves. These are all ones that I actually dried from my garden. I need to go out and get more rosemary though because this isn't going to be enough. Rosemary lasts a pretty long time here, but it does not completely overwinter. Ground cloves. See, this is what I'm talking about. I have to do this. There we go. Ground cloves. Just gonna get these filled up. This one wasn't quite empty, but I just figured since I'm in there, I might as well just top them up. That's not the lid. I know, see, this is why I need to do this because this is my ground cloves. I'm almost out of them. And we have holiday baking coming up. So I definitely need to put this on my Azure order. And if Azure doesn't have it, then I need to go and pick some up from the Amish. Because this is a major recipe in like pretty much all pumpkin recipes, all holiday recipes. Oven just dinged. Let's check this pie. Smells good. This is what it looks like. It's really like jiggly, so I don't know if it's gonna set if we leave it. Like, how jiggly is it supposed to be? I don't know. It's definitely cooked. I don't know if you can see, but it's like it's hard on the top. So we're gonna finish with these cookies. The oven actually has to be set at 350. So we're gonna change the oven to 350. And we already got the cookie sheets out. I used to have 2 of these. These are the Pampered Chef stoneware. And I took one out of the oven one day. I was in a hurry, took it out of the oven, took the stuff off of it, and I needed to leave the house right away, and I wanted it to be clean, and put it in water, and it went, and it cracked in half. So I only have one of these now, and I really want another one because I absolutely love them. So the other one, I'm just using like a regular cookie sheet with a silicone thing on it. The Pampered Chef, they are like a, what is it, non-stick. So I don't need to have a silicone sheet. I am getting the sugar out because what we have to do is we have to roll these into a ball and then put sugar on them. Okay, I've got clean hands, don't worry. So we have a little bowl and we're just gonna take them and roll them in some sugar and then put them on the cookie sheet. Trying to remember if I flattened them or not when I cooked them last time. They don't spread too much. I think I'll give them like a little, I'll flatten them just a little bit. I'm just gonna like lightly push them down. I don't want to push them down too much because I still want them to be kind of chewy. Ones in the fridge are definitely a lot harder. So this is what they look like. Into the oven they go. And we're gonna put them in for, we'll check 10 minutes. It says 10 to 12 minutes. So we'll check them at 10 and see. Let's check these cookies. The dinger went off a little bit ago, but I know that when I use this stoneware, it tends to take, and they did spread. Oh, I think that's good. That's what they look like. They did spread out a bit. They are really, really soft still, like way too soft. So I think I'm gonna put them back in for another 5 minutes. Let's check these again. They're looking good, and then even if they're soft, they will harden up. So I am going to take those out. What they look like. So I'm going to leave them cool on there for a couple of minutes, and then I will take them and transfer them to a cooling rack. Okay. So these ones, I'm just going to go right ahead and put maybe at like 13, 14 minutes. I am now taking these off here. They are done. They smell so delicious. And I don't remember them going this flat last time I made them, but maybe I didn't cram so many on the cookie sheet. I made myself a cup of tea and I'm going to sit down while I wait for the rest of the cookies to finish and have a cookie and some tea and then come back and then I will get supper started. We're making the shrimp Alfredo for supper tonight. I thought I'd show you guys the cookies. So delicious, super chewy. So I got the burgers out of the freezer and I just vacuum sealed them. So I have 4 in pack and I made 4 packs. So that's perfect. I'm making shrimp Alfredo for supper with steamed broccoli and some garlic bread. So I'm gonna get the Alfredo sauce started right now. So it says to melt the butter in a large skillet over medium heat. It calls for 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna get this broccoli chopped up while the butter is melting. I have this, today is kind of like an advocate for Tupperware. I have this Tupperware bowl and it's got this like little steamer basket in it, and then you just put water in the bottom, like a little bit of water, put your stuff in here, cover it and microwave it, and it steams it perfect. So I am just going to, I'm gonna grab my broccoli florets and put them in here. I'm gonna give them a quick rinse also. That's slowly starting to melt. Got to keep an eye on it because it goes from like nice and slowly melting to like burning in a matter of minutes, seconds, in a matter of seconds. My broccoli is prepped. This is starting to melt. So now what I have to do is, it says once the butter is melted, add the minced garlic and cook for 1 minute. So I just want to warm up the garlic. I don't want to cook it. And then it calls for 2 large garlic cloves. So I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of garlic. Yeah, that butter's melted now. It is a garlic Alfredo, so I want it to taste like garlic. After a minute, I am going to whisk in, yeah, starting to get fragrant. I am now going to whisk in a 1/4 cup of flour. I usually do a little bit more because I do like a thicker sauce. And it says to cook this for about 5 minutes. You just kind of want to get it like a toasty brown color. I am actually gonna get my noodles going now, so I'm gonna get that water heated up. This is now brown. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna whisk in, lost my directions here. I am going to whisk in my milk. Now it does say to warm the milk ahead of time, so I have heated this milk up, so it is hot. So it calls for 3 cups of whole milk. So I am just going to slowly whisk this milk in. I'm also going to try not to get it all over the burner because it definitely stinks if it burns. Just tempering the milk in. If I don't do this, I'll end up with a really lumpy sauce. So you just want to slowly add it in. Once you get it like pretty thin, then you don't have to worry about tempering it in, but until you're at that point, you gotta slowly incorporate it. We have to wait for this to get bubbly. It says about 5 more minutes, so I'm gonna kind of keep whisking it. Sauce is starting to get nice and thick. So what we're going to do is we are going to take it off of the heat and we are going to add 2 cups of grated Parmesan cheese and then some salt and pepper. Now because we are using this like pre-grated stuff and not fresh stuff, it doesn't melt as well. So what I usually end up doing is leaving the heat on and then incorporating it in, and it does help it melt a little bit better. I think I'm okay with that thickness of that sauce. Let's add in 2 cups of grated Parmesan. And then we'll just stir it in. And it calls for ½ teaspoon of salt and ½ teaspoon of pepper. We like a little bit more. So I'll add almost a teaspoon of salt and then almost a teaspoon of pepper because we kind of like the peppery Alfredo sauce. I'm just gonna give this a stir until you guys can see the texture of it. It's nice and thick. So this is definitely starting to melt. I'm gonna take that off the burner now because it's melted. Well, I am gonna go and eat some supper. I am pretty hungry from working in the kitchen all day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And oh yeah, I will come back after though and show you guys how the pie ended up turning out and how it tasted. I'm excited to try it. We're gonna have it for dessert, but I just wanted to say goodbye just in case I didn't get a chance to when we were eating because we are having it for dessert, so it might be a little bit later in the day. Oh, and the sun decided to come out now that it's setting. Anyways, thanks guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Okay, the moment of truth. Let's cut it. It's weird. I wasn't expecting that type of texture. Get the first piece out. Get a plate. cool. See the inside of it? It's where it's dark in here. Now I did make some whipped cream. I'll try it without the whipped cream first. Let's see how it is. It's good. It's really good. It's weird though. It like almost tastes like it has like a lemony, like corn syrupy taste. Like I get where it's saying the pecan pie from. This is definitely good. Thanks again for watching, guys. See you on the next video.